as I get set up, a couple things I'll cover off. My name is Angus Wright. I also go by Angus by design. That name is linked to me. I've been a person who lives in Canada and has a personal practice of journaling, using social media to make connections, building community, and just participating in life in general. So, welcome. This is part of my practice. My goal for this hour, I try to keep it under an hour, but essentially I'm just going live on TikTok. I've had an account here for a little bit, but I'm kind of learning what it's about. I kind of am learning as I go. Heard an interesting point, and I've probably known this before. I hope that my mic is working fine. It seems to be. But, TikTok was purchased by Oracle, so I'm going to actually kind of research what that means, and I'm looking forward to looking at that. But this is a practice, so this is day 4. This is a book called The Tibetan Book of the Dead for Beginners, A Guide to Living and Dying by Lama, Lhanang Rinpoche, and Mordy Levine. And and so I'm just opening up this stream. I'm gonna read it live. It's a practice. I try to read a chapter a day for my own personal practice. What I'll do is I'll start off with a pretty cool quote from the front of the book. I'll then read the dedication. And then chapter 4 is influencing our next rebirth. And it's a fairly long one, so I'll try to kind of go through it fairly quickly, but I often will just pause and potentially reflect. So people are welcome to come and go. The way I view the chat box is if there's something you'd like to contribute, you're certainly welcome to. If there's something energetically you'd like to share or get off your chest, or you need some support around, this hour is kind of like an opportunity for me to hold space as well. So what I try to do is I try to put good thoughts, good energy, kind of reflections on this. I don't have any expectations, so I'm not doing this as a practice to gain gifts or like payment or whatever. All of my social media across platforms, I've had social media accounts for years and years and years. I really, really find it really cool to see how these things evolve organically. So I don't, I tend not to like do the traditional stuff that you would see. But I will encourage people to use the space as they would like. So if something resonates with you, if you have a thought, a quote, something that inspires you, please feel free to share. But also if you're just looking for a place to chill, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this chapter from the book. And then I have a wellness tool that I use for reflection and journaling, and it's called the Collette Baron-Reid, the Spirit Animal Oracle, and it's a deck of cards that kind of comes with some cool pictures, and then a cool reading, and it's just to reflect on. So you're welcome to just enjoy. My goal is to do it in under an hour so that I can repost it. I've been in a practice of downloading this and then just reposting it to YouTube for replay purposes. And and then at the end, before I close, what I'll do is I'll go back up through the chat box. I'll take a look at who showed here, who came here, whatever quotes or whatever. And then my goal will be to kind of close off in wellness and be able to just put kind of good energy, kind of good positive energy, cultivated mindfulness out, kind of projected out there into the universe. Because that's the beauty of, energy, is that we can control our own. So there's ways where we can sort of be alone without being lonely. We can call on people from past, present, and future to inspire us or to bring us strength. A lot of people in recovery, for example, they'll talk about a higher power. In science and research, we think of it as a higher sense of self. I live in Centertown and people honk their horns, so I don't know if you'll hear that, if it picks up, but part of the practice, right, is just going with what you know. And, sometimes in the world, people just need to feel seen. Or maybe they need to bounce something off of you, right? But we don't really have the right to inflict ourselves on other people. People will try, people will project, but in these practices, this is a space where we can let that stuff go. So welcome. This is me. I'm Angus Wright. I also go by Angus by Design. Angus by Design is a mantra. So I can use it in reflection if I'm just sitting and I'm thinking, okay, what does Angus by Design mean? Well, a design, right? What do we know about design? It's the choices that are made in producing something, right? So if I'm producing me, well, what am I producing? And so for me, I use guidelines. I like to use evidence-based guidelines. So, for example, you might hear me talk about RAP, family RAP, or there's all sorts. Wellness recovery action planning is a tool you can use for anything. It's there's a whole history behind it. I can use tools like Catch, Check, Change, which is what's considered a cognitive behavioral tool. So that just means I'm catching my thoughts. I'm thinking the thinks I'm thinking, but I'm making sure I'm either writing it down or I'm reflecting or I'm aware. Checking means comparing to see if other people have that experience. And then changing is, just changing for myself. Like, what is my ultimate, how do I want to be, right? So that's part of this practice. So I'm about to read this chapter. If you'd like to see previous chapters, check it out. Check out my YouTubes. My name's the same over there, Angus by Design. I'm a human being, perfectly imperfect. Nothing of what I'm trying to do here is to change anybody's life. It's just a practice, right? And I'm opening that up. If you want to share something, share something. If it resonates, let it resonate. I don't have expectations. So I'm going to do the reading from this book. I'm going to pull a card and then I'll do some reflections before I go. The first 10 minutes, of course, of any practice that I do, this is sort of the kind of meta or the life, the human side of it, the action side of it. I always like to sort of do this kind of verbal check-in, getting, a couple percent, ironing out my boobies. See, it might be a little cold in here. Ignore the man nipple, but just getting a little bit more comfortable in the place we're in. I'm sitting cross-legged. If you're in a place and you're listening to this, feel free to. Is there a way where you could become 1% more comfortable? The book I'm about to read is it's from the Tibetan Book of the Dead for Beginners. Oops, my bookmark fell out. It was my little reminder. So this is a book that used to belong to the library. I signed it out once upon a time. My brain and my wellness didn't get me back in time to be able to return it like a good citizen would. But I did pay my fines, so I own the book now. And this is just me reading it. I'm going to read it and share it with you. So, hey, awesome! Good to see you, MJ. MJ knows what I'm about. All right. So I'm going to start by... Oh, I'll also mention, so I do something... This is what I call the Dharma Talks. And the Dharma Talks for me is a personal thing where it's just like... All I'm doing is just experiencing the book too. So we're taking it in at the same time. And the Dharma just meaning like the universe, right? Like life itself. So the past is history. The future is mystery. The present moment is a gift. And that's Lama, Lhanang, Rinpoche. And the dedication in the book, which, I'm using as a dedication for this broadcast, is may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings rejoice in the well-being of others. May all beings live in peace, free from greed and hatred. So this is the 4 immeasurables. It's a fairly long chapter, so I'm going to try to keep my reflections to a minimum just so that I can make sure to keep this within the time, okay? But if you feel so moved, feel free to just share any reflections in the chat box. In a way, this is you recording. You're a part of this practice. This is all meant to be something that is peaceful and brings us peace, so I just want to really honor that the old TikTok is a worldwide situation. I know from what I can see in my own insights, though, is that we are predominantly Canadian on my stream. And we come from just about everywhere. So I really want to, I want you to know that you're welcome here. Because that's part of my practice. And it's part of how I feel comfortable. Because, my gosh, I'm like a 49-year-old anxious dude. But I happen to know that when we come in peace, and when we have an open and curious heart, that we can really just about be anywhere and feel safe. So I don't compete or compare here. We're all together. There's no hierarchy, even if this is my channel, or this is my portal or whatever. However you look at it. I don't use these spaces in the traditional way, so if anything, I just see this as me journaling out loud. I am a blogger. I've been a contributor for more than 30 years. I got my start in community television in a small town. I used to record hockey games in council town meetings. And so, to me, in my Generation Xness, this is just a continuation of that. So, you're welcome here. And this is how I stay accountable to me, right? And to my life and to my participation in these spaces. So I really hope that this is peaceful. So I'm reading from the book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead for beginners. It's not to tell anybody what to think or feel. I'm just reading a book. And we're all reflecting on it for ourselves, right? So chapter 4, influencing our next rebirth. I'll just sort of give context. So far the chapters have been karma, how we live is how we die. Chapter 2 was what dies and what gets reborn. Chapter 3 is our consciousness after death. And so now chapter 4 is influencing our next rebirth. So it all kind of, so even though we're here now, we can sort of call on where we've come to be here. Will we be reborn in a family that shows us love and compassion? Will we be reborn in a well-to-do city? Or a poor, desolate neighborhood or country at war? Will we be reborn as a human or as an animal? Do we even have a say in these matters? Great Buddhist masters who have trained over many years or lifetimes are able to choose their family and location of rebirth. Before they die, many masters will go so far as to leave a letter and other information for their students as to where they will be reborn. This allows their students to find them after rebirth. Before they die, many masters will go as far as to leave a letter. Oh, I already read that. See how my brain tracks? This is also part of my practice because I have a moral and I have wellness. I have brain injury. I also have what they call neurodiversity. So I was diagnosed with severe ADHD. So we're on this journey together. I might get sparked by something, so I think that's what throws me off. But so anyway, I'll start from before they die. Many masters will go as far as to leave a letter and other information for their students as well as to where they will be reborn. This allows their students to find them after rebirth. The students search with the clues provided by their teacher. So when they find a candidate who might be the rebirth of their teacher, they test the young child in a variety of ways to be certain the child is their former teacher. The child can now continue their Buddhist studies and continue to work to reduce suffering for all sentient beings. An inspiring movie to watch this take place is Unmistaken Child. A Buddhist monk, Tenzin Zopa, is tasked with finding his teacher, Geshe Lama Konchog, in his new incarnation. So I apologize about my pronunciations. The most well-known example of this cycle is the life of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. So as a child, he was identified, tested, and found to be the prior incarnation of His Holiness the 13th Dalai Lama. That's pretty cool. So I'm just reading from the Tibetan Book of the Dead for Beginners. I got this from a library, so this is a guide to living and dying. This particular one is written by Lama Lhanang Rinpoche and Mordy Levine, but the Tibetan Book of the Dead is something that many books exist. So if it tickles your fancy, check it out. How Buddhist masters navigate rebirth. So through intense study and meditation, Buddhist masters train their minds to be compassionate and non-grasping, and they truly understand that the world is impermanent. Working with practices from the Tibetan Book of the Dead and other sources, they are prepared to navigate the bardo. They are not fearful about death. They are able to control their states of mind while awake to avoid grasping and attachments and fear. They maintain their awareness while asleep, and as they die, they're able to navigate the bardo with stability and awareness, the same way they lived their lives. So great masters approach death the same way they live, with compassion for themselves and others. They have seized or reduced their grasping of their self. That's pretty cool. And welcome to everybody who's been here so far. It's been 22 minutes and it says 73 people have peeped in. With 6 hearts and 3, I think it's like maybe telling me that 3 are watching now, maybe. This is really cool. This is like what they call biofeedback. So it's like, this is almost like a dialectical behavioral exercise for me in terms of skills and therapy talk. Being able to see the names and the faces, just being real. One of the first names to pop up was somebody who's, followed me for decades now. We go way back to the workplace. And that, there's a bunch that comes with that, right? This person doesn't really openly communicate or share in any way that would leave anybody feeling safe. So it's really helpful for me to see that 72 other people, have laid eyes on it. So it's a great reflection in the moment. So I'm just reading from the Tibetan Book of the Dead for Beginners. I'm sipping on my coffee. It says, "Good morning, handsome." So if it's morning where you are, then good morning, handsome. Little note about this mug. I used to use it as a dog food scoop. And when my old dogs passed away, it broke my heart and I couldn't see this mug in the same way. So I changed up and I changed the way I use it. So now I use it as an affirmation, and it's a great way for me to be connected with my dogs. Well, you can see maybe over my shoulder here, I have my dog, Beau H. Regard. He's a Dalmatian. He didn't replace my other dogs. He just picked up the work where they left off, because trust and believe, I used to have 3 dogs managing my head and my heart and my thoughts and my farts, you know what I mean? And now that's all on him. But as you can see, he's living La Vida warm here in Canada. He's a Dalmatian with black and white spots laying on a leopard print heated blanket. Very Canadian, but it's pretty nice out, so okay. So, how Buddhist masters navigate rebirth. Through intense study and meditation, Buddhist masters train their minds to be compassionate and non-grasping, and they truly understand that the world is impermanent. Working with practices from the Tibetan Book of the Dead and other sources, they are prepared to navigate the bardo. They are not fearful about death. They are able to control their states of mind while awake to avoid grasping attachment and fear. They maintain their awareness while asleep, and as they die, they are able to navigate the bardo with stability and awareness the same way they lived their lives. Great masters approach death the same way they live, with compassion for themselves and others. They have seized or reduced their grasping of their self. I'm just realizing I probably read that, right? That part already. But you see how the old noggin works? And I don't have to be perfect, so here I am. But I do want to kind of try to pick up my pace because I want to keep this within an hour. So we're going to look at how we navigate rebirth, consciousness. Oh, we're not too bad. We're not too far off. We're laughing. So welcome, everybody. We're up to 76 views on this, and it just makes me feel really good because ideally I'm I'm a hippie. I'm 50. I use cannabis for medicine. I'm a certified personal medicine practitioner, which is a program that's actually developed by someone named Pat Deegan. And if you ever want to go down a pretty cool rabbit hole of, learning how we can help ourselves in every situation, check out what Pat Deegan's doing. Because from her whole body of work in her lifetime, she now has like a PhD and she has a program that actually is like literally, I call them like recipe cards for how I can figure out just about everything in my life and how I can face all the real stuff, right? So check out Pat Deegan, Personal Medicine. But back to the book, the Tibetan Book for the Dead for Beginners, A Guide to Living and Dying. The goal is to read chapter 4 and then pull an animal oracle card. All the names, everything that I see in the chat box, I'm opening a channel for, and I'm going to basically be hoping to send that positive energy, that sort of like combined, intentional energy out there into the universe, right? To kind of balance all the stuff we see. I also am just realizing I haven't had my acid reflux meds for a day or so, and I've been using up some that were like less effective for me. So my goal is to get this done, get my dog up and going, and then maybe go get my refills. So thank you for your patience as I look all weird navigating acid reflux. All right. How we can navigate rebirth. So likewise for us, how we live is how we will die. How we die is how we will experience the bardo. How we experience the bardo will be one of the ingredients that determines how and where we are reborn. Most of us are not able to control our states of mind while awake or asleep. We grasp at the people, events, and things around us and become attached to our desires or aversion to them. When our situation changes in a way that we don't like, we experience stress, anger, annoyance, or irritation, right? When we have good experiences, bad experiences, or nightmares, it seems like these things just happen to us. And we react based on our prior habitual reactions. We don't have the ability to control our reactive state of mind. And if we're not able to control our minds during our waking hours, we will certainly not be able to be aware of our control. Or wait, I think I got a little like dramatic and excited there, so I'm going to try that again. I got a little caught up in the machine here. And if we're not able to control our minds during our waking hours, we will certainly not be able to be aware of or control our minds when we sleep or are in the bardo. But we don't have to stay in these reactive states. We can learn to work with our minds so we can navigate our lives with more acceptance and prepare for death with more ease. The way we live our life, which includes our level of awareness, degree of grasping, and other tendencies, is how we will experience the bardo. It is very important to be able to let go of our reactive grasping tendencies when in the bardo. We don't want to go through the bardo fighting the fears and demons that show up in our consciousness. After all, as we prepare for the bardo, we learn that our thoughts, perceptions, and views are an illusion. We no longer need to view ourselves and what comes into mind with great solidity or importance. In addition, the bardo experience is more difficult to navigate than the normal dream state we experience while alive. For most of us, death can be a big shock to our consciousness, especially when it is sudden. After death, many beings enter the bardo in a state of shock and resist the fact that they are dead. We see this resistance to death illustrated in movies such as The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, or starring Bruce Willis, or Ghost with Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Whoopi Goldberg. Some recently deceased cling to their former lives. Even while dead, they are aware of their family and friends who are still living and going about their lives. Family and friends who are agitated or arguing during or after the death will impact the consciousness of our loved one in the bardo and create agitation for consciousness. So if friends and family are able to maintain a sense of calm, peace, and love, that will allow the deceased to be more at peace while they continue through the bardo. That's pretty awesome. And welcome. MJ. Yeah, both very excellent. I kind of want to actually now maybe go and watch that. I feel like the Sixth Sense, I'm always making kind of like pop culture references to it because my ADHD brain, my my moral or my brain injury from trauma, it can make me forgetful or habitual. So in order to stay hydrated, like I'll often find glasses of water everywhere. I've got my mug, I've got empty cups, like these are all signs. And I think of that movie, The Sixth Sense, because I think it's that, or maybe I'm confusing movies. No, I think I'm confusing it with an M. Night Shyamalan movie with the little girl. I think I'm confusing it with Signs. Sixth Sense is good too, though. Yeah. Anyway, see, this is why I need an MJ in my life. She knows that even though in this moment I may be coming off as cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, my brain will eventually make all the connections and I'll get all the references that I like to spew out, right? So, now, did I read... What did I just read? Help me out, MJ. Did I just read How We Navigate Rebirth? Or How Buddhist Masters Navigate Rebirth? I think I read the How the Buddhist Masters. So what we have, I'm doing the cuckoo. I love it. Cuckoo. How We Navigate Rebirth, I'll do, because it rolls into the next page. Consciousness Through the Bardo. And we have 36 minutes. So, all right, I'm going to take a couple of deep breaths. I'll take a drink, and then I'm going to try to read all the way through. Now, keep in mind, I often have the attention span of Dory from Finding Nemo on coffee. Because, ta-da! When we know, maybe. Exactly. When we know, we know. And this is a space where even if we don't know, we still know somewhere deep down inside. Just keep swimming. All right. I'm also going through life in Ottawa, Canada, where we have this wonderful warming. And this is not a complaint. But there's something in the snow when it melts that loves to F around with my lungs. Any snooch, I'm going to get through this. How we navigate rebirth. Likewise for us, how we live is how we will die. How we die is how we will experience the bardo. How we experience the bardo will be one of the ingredients that determines how and where we are reborn. Most of us are not able to control our states of mind while awake or asleep. We grasp at the people, events, and the things around us and become attached to our desires or aversion to them. When our situation changes in a way we don't like, we experience stress, anger, annoyance, or irritation. When we have good experiences, bad experiences, or nightmares, it seems like these things just happen to us, like acid reflux. And when we react based on our prior habitual reactions, we react, not and when, and we react. I'm the worst audiobook guy, I'm telling you. This is why I don't work in audiobooks. And when we react based on our prior habitual reactions. No, wait. I did it again. I'm going to start that paragraph all over. Oh my gosh. There we go. All right. You're now seeing why I've had a challenge reading books over time, but this is also, you're seeing why I'm practicing it. Here's where I'm going to start. When we have good experiences, bad experiences, or nightmares, it seems like these things just happen to us, and we react based on our prior habitual reactions. We don't have the ability to control our reactive state of mind. And if we're not able to control our minds during our waking hours, we will certainly not be able to be aware of or control our minds when we sleep or are in the bardo. I feel like I'm repeating this, but we don't have to stay in these reactive states. We can learn to work with our minds so we can navigate our lives with more acceptance and prepare for death with more ease. The way we live our life which includes our level of awareness, degree of grasping, and other tendencies, is how we will experience the bardo. It is very important to be able to let go of our reactive grasping tendencies when in the bardo. We don't want to go through the bardo fighting the fears and demons that show up in our consciousness. After all, as we prepare for the bardo, we learn that our thoughts, perceptions, and views are an illusion. We no longer need to view ourselves and what comes into our mind with great solidity or importance. In addition, the bardo experience is more difficult to navigate than the normal dream state that we experience while alive. For most of us, death can be a big shock to our consciousness, especially when it is sudden. After death, many beings enter the bardo in a state of shock and resist the fact that they are dead. We see this resistance to death illustrated in movies such as The Sixth Sense. Oh, I did read this. Oh my gosh. With Bruce Willis, or Ghost with Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Whoopi Goldberg. Some recently deceased cling to their former lives even while dead, and they're aware of their family and friends who are still living and going about their lives. Family and friends who are agitated or arguing during or after the death event will impact the consciousness of our loved one in the bardo and create agitation for consciousness. If friends and family are able to maintain a sense of calm, peace, and love, that will allow the deceased to be more at peace while they continue through the bardo. All right, so that's hilarious to me because, again, right, it just indicates how my brain works in the moment, right? And I was overthinking things. I was like, oh my god, I have so much time, and then I was like, I don't have time. But all I did was I flicked the page backwards, and then of course my inner Dory didn't pick up on that until I had enough of that enough of that reread. But for me and my hippy dippy self, sometimes a reread is a reason, that we maybe need to pick up something that we didn't pick up the first time, right? So that's again how I'm choosing to practice, as opposed to beating the crap out of myself for not being able to read like a normal 49-year-old, Canadian Yeti wearing a Coca-Cola shirt, drinking coffee on a, what's today, Sunday? All right, now I'm going to finish it off so I can pull that card. Consciousness through the bardo. Consciousness experiences the bardo without a physical body. While alive, our physical body is very grounding for us. When we get out of bed in the morning, when we exercise, when we pay attention to physical sensations, our physicality grounds us and helps our state of mind stabilize. For example, if we're stressed, we can take a walk or exercise our physical body. This helps to clear the physical, emotional, and psychological stress. Our mind-body connection is strong. What affects one impacts the other seamlessly. When we meditate and observe our breath, we also connect our mind to our body. While alive, our physical body in partnership with our mind interacts with the physical world around us, which is also grounding. In the bardo, we don't have our physical body to support us. We only have our consciousness, untethered from the body. As mentioned earlier, in the bardo, our consciousness includes our karma, the habits and tendencies that we've created, developed, and maintained through our lifetimes. If we're not able to control our states of mind while we are alive in our body, imagine how difficult it is after we die, when the mind is untethered from our physical body. As we can see, navigating the bardo without preparation can be difficult. Our states of mind in the bardo mirrors our state of mind in this lifetime, without a body and in many cases in shock. If we spent our lives grasping at desire and aversion, then the grasping to avoid fear and seeking for pleasure and comfort will play out in our experience in the bardo. As mentioned in the previous chapter, at the end of the bardo of luminosity, the grasping moment of the consciousness, usually within 49 days, seeks to be in the body again. It seeks a womb, the physical body, and based on its karma, consciousness finds and enters a womb. Karma determines our place of birth, family, and so on. So for most beings, at this time in the cycle of life, death, rebirth, there is very little choice as to our rebirth environment. So it's determined by our karma. Can we prepare for the bardo now that we know how much is riding on it? We would all prefer to have a pleasant experience as we're dying. If we know the bardo experience is going to be unpleasant or we are unprepared, we will live our lives in fear and die in fear. Appropriate preparation allows us to mentally relax to some degree. When we know what to expect and prepare our minds, we will feel more confident and peaceful as we approach the bardo. Finally, from a very practical perspective, how we live our lives, including how we experience the bardo, determines our rebirth. So let's prepare now while we can. Oh my gosh, awesome. All right. So it's been 47 minutes. I got through the chapter, thank goodness, and y'all really supported in me in this. This is the book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead for Beginners. It's a guide to living and dying. I got it from my public library. I live with brain injury and moral injury due to some PTSD I experienced in the workplace and in my community and in my housing situations. And as I face things like the opioid crisis that we're all facing, as I support myself and others through values and ethics and guidelines around support. So again, just pointing out this book, for example, so family wrap, I guess maybe backwards it says Yijamaf Paru, which, what makes sense until it makes sense. So it's just for reflection, of course. The dedication here was, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So I hope that includes you. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings rejoice in the well-being of others, and may all beings live in peace, free from the greed and hatred. Those are called the four immeasurables. So this book being written by these two cast of characters, go check out what they do. Again, the practice I was doing was just reading a chapter. Now, if you if you were on your own journey and you were joining me at the beginning of this, I was saying I'm gonna shuffle these cards. This is an animal oracle. My goal is to be out of here within 10 minutes so I can repost this. This is reflection. How I use this as a meditation tool is I go, oh my gosh, okay, so I just read that chapter and I just read that chapter. So y'all were with me maybe with what was getting in and what was getting out. But the general themes there were what happens when we go through a cycle of life and death. And earlier in the book, it says we can look at life and death like the big picture kind of thing. And I'm paraphrasing, I'm Angus phrasing. But we can look at the life and death cycle as the ultimate one, right? Like where we all live and we all die. Or it could literally be used in any capacity. So it could be an idea, it could be a dream, it could be a, it's like my body thinks, oh my gosh, I'm dying, and then I fart and then I'm fine again. So, it's really like, it's so open to how we can interpret it. What I try to do is I try to piece, okay, does this have any meaning to that? Or what meaning does it have? Or where is it taking me? So I also said I was going to dedicate it to all the things in the chat box, because this has been a practice and a broadcast of bringing peace and good energy. And so it looks to me like I've had 134 people come through with 12 hearts, which is amazing, and 3 people showing. So I'm going to scroll up. I'd like to take a look at all these names, because again, I opened up this as a practice, and so that I can be supportive, I can be kind, I can be helpful, I can be open, I can be connected. So I love to see who popped in and popped out. Names like Sawyer Snipes, Jamal, White Snow. I wonder if that was Informer. My dad's known for playing. Gary. I have a brother named Gary. Hockey joined. Eddie with a fart boy swag. Awesome. Michelin. Amadou. Scrum. Fabio. Rose. Brady. Gooner Tuner. That's quite the... You can just imagine what's on that person's scroll. I love your mom. There's Sean. So Sean, he goes by Sausage35 on TikTok. Him and I are part of the same, anyway, at one point. I don't know what's true in his world anymore, but I'm a bus operator, part of local ATU 279 in Ottawa, Canada. Sean and I started back in 2007 in the same cohort. He's operator 5935. I'm operator 5946. The Amalgamated Transit Union, we have our local. We also have ATU Canada and ATU International. So I'm actually part of an international union. So I'm going to dedicate that to all of them and to whatever energy Sean felt he needed. Back in December, he was posting LOLs and police type stuff about Rob Reiner and autism and trying to make fun of me. So, this is where I get to open up my channel. I get to see there was 135 other people, but hey, we can't always control who wants to just keep on showing up. Sean's followed me on Facebook. He's followed me on Instagram, all these things. And so I guess he just wants to continue to follow me here. So I know the type of union guy I am, and the oath that I took is very important. So that's how we get to kind of have our own values and ethics and practices, right? But it's also a case where I can choose to focus on what feels like it could be negative energy on his part, or I can look at all the positive energy that we cultivated here together. So that's what it's all about. And yeah, MJ sharing about death being a shock. Virgo, Ontario born and bred, amazing country girl. That's right. See? And I'm still a small town boy. Georgian Bay, Great Lakes. I'm going to channel all that energy. Okay? So here's to the big city, the small town in the big city in the small town. Big city energy, small town energy. Big Canadian energy, small Canadian energy. The Canadian flag is celebrating a birthday. It was brought in 65, so this is to evolution. And it's the koala spirit. The spirit has a plan. So again, it's how we interpret spirit as well, right? So it can mean going on up to the spirit in the sky. It can mean a little beverage. It can mean our essence. Hey, it can mean a fart. Who knows? You do you. Can I get this out in 3 minutes? I think I can. All right. Koala spirit. Oracle. Spirit has a plan. In nature, the koala moves slowly through the branches of the eucalyptus tree, leisurely chewing the leaves, reminding us that life is not a race or competition. Damn you, koala. 3 minutes. Chasing around after every distraction can keep us from recognizing that we have all we need, and that spirit will always be there with gifts to sustain us. You are being asked to trust that by moving slowly with faith in the abundance that is everywhere, surrendering to a power greater than yourself, you will be able to experience the manifestations of your desire. As you take your time enjoying the riches available to you right now, sitting peacefully, you begin to radiate the joy and abundance you seek. Spirit is here to help you discover happiness, pleasure, and contentment, all gifts that are yours now and in the future. Have faith and trust in the Spirit's plan for you, and know that you are loved and cherished. And I have about less than 2 minutes to get the protection message out there and then say goodbye to everybody. But the protection message from this card deck is saying, are you feeling uneasy and mistrustful of the world? Have you been hiding in a safe spot, afraid to venture out because you're convinced that life and other people will disappoint you? Koala Spirit has appeared to let you know that your faith is misplaced and present safety you seek is already passing away, because all things are temporary and outer conditions are always changing. So find your safety by placing your faith and trust in Spirit, who will grow the abundance that is already yours. Less than a minute. Perhaps you are acting slowly and overly cautiously because you lack faith that there is more for you out there than what you know. You may have boxed yourself into a safe place that has nothing else to give you and become so familiar with it that you have forgotten to explore. Are you feeling pessimistic? Oh my gosh, 30 seconds. And convinced that there's nothing more out there for you? Koala Spirit reminds you that self-care is meant to replenish you so that you can venture out again in faith, trusting that there is no limit to the joy Spirit wants you to experience. Be good to yourself and reconnect with Spirit to reclaim your faith in things yet unseen. Less than 10 seconds. All right, we'll see you all later. This was an hour, 143 of you. Take care, everybody. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.